She can be talented, beautiful, educated, and driven. But if her mind is not in alignment with her purpose, she will stay stuck in a cycle of self-doubt, overthinking, and emotional exhaustion. That's how powerful the mind is. And that's exactly why when a woman learns to master it, everything changes. Because here's the truth. The real battlefield isn't out there. It's within. It's in the silent moments when she questions her worth. In the nights when she replays conversations and wonders if she was too much or not enough. In the invisible war between her potential and her past. Between her dreams and her doubts. And the most dangerous thing in the world is a woman who doesn't believe in herself. But the most powerful thing, a woman who does. When a woman learns to observe her thoughts instead of being consumed by them, she takes her power back. When she learns that emotions are not enemies but signals, she becomes emotionally bulletproof. When she replaces fear with focus, doubt with discipline, and excuses with action, she steps into a version of herself that even she didn't know existed. This isn't about perfection. It's about mental mastery. And that kind of strength doesn't come from pretending everything's okay. It comes from facing everything that's not, from diving deep into her beliefs and rewriting the stories that have held her back, from confronting her inner critic and choosing self-compassion over self-sabotage. A mastered mind doesn't mean she never feels fear. It means she feels it and moves anyway. It doesn't mean she never breaks down. It means she knows how to rebuild herself. Again and again, stronger every time. And when she does, she becomes unstoppable, not because life suddenly gets easier, but because she gets sharper. She stops asking for permission to take up space. She stops shrinking in rooms where she belongs. She stops apologizing for her power. She becomes the calm in the storm, the fire that doesn't burn out, the woman whose presence shifts energy because her mind is no longer her prison, it's her weapon. This series is for the woman who's ready to stop being her own enemy, who's tired of sitting on potential, who knows there's more in her, but hasn't known how to unlock it. We'll walk through the mindset traps that keep women small, and the mental rewiring that sets them free, one shift at a time, one breakthrough at a time, until the world starts seeing what she finally sees in herself, a force to be reckoned with. Her emotions won't control her, her past won't define her, her mind will no longer limit her, because now, she's in control. There's something extraordinary about a woman who has decided to take control of her mind. Not her surroundings, not her relationships, not even the people who once hurt her, but her mind. That woman becomes a force that no one can contain. She becomes the kind of woman who doesn't just survive. She rises, she thrives, and she leaves behind every version of herself that once doubted her power. It all begins in the silence, in the moments when no one is watching and no one is cheering. That's when the real shift begins, when she starts questioning her old thoughts, the limiting beliefs she's been fed since childhood. You're too emotional. You're not strong enough. You need someone to complete you. No. She starts replacing those lies with truth. I am enough. I choose my path. I define my worth. Mastering your mind as a woman doesn't mean you never feel pain again. It means you learn how to sit with it, move through it, and use it as fuel. It means that the voices that used to make you second-guess yourself now only whisper, and you don't listen anymore. Because your inner voice, the one rooted in truth, in vision, in power, has finally taken the mic. And this mastery isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. A woman who has control of her mind doesn't chase approval. She doesn't explain her choices to those who don't deserve the explanation. She simply moves differently. Her confidence isn't something she flaunts. It's in the way she walks into a room. It's in the way she speaks when she does speak. It's in the way she says no without guilt and yes without fear. Life will still test her. The world doesn't suddenly get easier just because she's done the inner work. But what changes is how she responds. She's no longer reactive. She's intentional. She's no longer pulled in 100 directions. She knows what matters and she protects her peace like it's sacred because it is. When a woman masters her mind, she no longer seeks permission to grow, to dream, to evolve. She gives herself permission. She no longer fears solitude because she's no longer afraid of facing herself. In fact, she becomes her own greatest companion. This kind of woman doesn't just transform her own life. She becomes a mirror that reflects what's possible for other women. Her presence alone becomes a revolution. Not because she's trying to lead others, but because she's dared to lead herself first. That's where the real power lies. Not in controlling the world, but in mastering the mind that creates your world. And once a woman does that, she becomes truly, completely unstoppable. She doesn't wait for permission to be powerful. When a woman masters her mind, she doesn't ask the world if it's okay to dream big. She simply does. The mental blocks that once whispered, "You're not enough," begin to lose their power. They shrink in the light of her awareness, because once she sees them for what they are, old fears, inherited beliefs, external expectations, she doesn't run from them. She confronts them. Mastering your mind doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you feel it and keep going. It means you recognize that self-doubt is part of the process, not a stop sign. Every woman who rises faces those same voices. The difference is, she trains herself to recognize them and rewire her response. A powerful woman trains her mind like a muscle. She's intentional about what she consumes, not just in food, but in thoughts, conversations, and media. She surrounds herself with energy that lifts, not drains. Her environment, her friends, her habits, they're all chosen with one clear purpose: to protect and elevate her mental state. She no longer allows chaos to rent space in her head. She guards her peace because she understands her peace is her power. She walks away from arguments that lead nowhere. She doesn't over-explain to people committed to misunderstanding her. She doesn't chase validation because she has already validated herself. When you master your mind, you stop performing for approval. You stop shrinking to fit into small spaces. You stop chasing what doesn't align with your purpose. You start saying no with confidence, and yes only to what fuels your growth. This mental clarity makes her unstoppable, because once her mind is focused, her actions follow. Once her inner world is aligned, her outer world begins to shift. Opportunities arrive. People notice. Her energy commands respect without her demanding it. A woman who has mastered her mind is not reactive. She's responsive. She doesn't panic when life throws a curveball. She pauses, she breathes, she evaluates, and then she moves, not emotionally, but intentionally. This kind of mental strength isn't cold. It's not harsh. It's deeply rooted in grace, discipline, and self-trust. It's the kind of strength that transforms a woman from feeling lost to being a leader. Not because she controls others, but because she has learned to lead herself. And that's the shift. When a woman leads herself well, she becomes a force. She doesn't have to shout. She doesn't have to dominate. Her quiet confidence speaks louder than any noise around her. She doesn't flinch when life gets messy. She doesn't break when the pressure rises, because a woman who has mastered her mind has trained herself to stay calm in the storm. She's no longer ruled by temporary emotions, fleeting opinions, or old fears. She responds, she doesn't react. And in that self-control, she finds her power. Mastering your mind is not about ignoring your feelings. It's about understanding them. A strong woman knows her emotions are valid, but she doesn't let them dictate her choices. She listens to her inner world without letting it drown her. That's why people are drawn to her. She radiates peace, even when everything around her is in chaos. When she enters a room, people feel her presence. Not because she's loud or dominating, but because she's centered. She doesn't need to control others. She controls herself, and that changes everything. She's learned how to pause, how to breathe, how to decide instead of explode. That's emotional intelligence in action. That's leadership without ego. A woman who's mastered her mind doesn't let rejection destroy her. She knows it's part of growth. She's learned that every closed door was redirection, not failure. She's detached from needing approval, because she already approves of herself. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It's quiet, steady, and undeniable. She no longer begs to be seen or heard. She speaks when it matters, and when she does, people listen. Not because she demands attention, but because her words are thoughtful, grounded, and true. She's earned her voice by doing the work within. She's become a woman who doesn't need to prove her worth. She walks in it. And most of all, she's become her own safe space. She no longer looks outside for peace, validation, or identity. She's created that inside her own mind. That's the real freedom. That's the kind of woman who inspires others in the bones. Not by preaching, but by being. Because once a woman has tamed the chaos inside her, nothing outside can break her. When a woman masters her mind, she doesn't just change her life. She transforms the energy around her. She becomes a force, calm, focused, intentional. She doesn't chase. She attracts. Not out of manipulation, but because her self-respect sets the tone. People notice. They feel the difference. She carries herself like someone who knows who she is, what she wants, and what she refuses to tolerate. This kind of woman is no longer available for drama. She no longer entertains conversations that drain her, people who disrespect her, or situations that distract her from her purpose. Her boundaries are not about being cold. They're about protecting her peace. Because she's fought too hard for that peace. She's bled for it. And now that she has it, she refuses to give it away carelessly. She's not interested in fitting into broken systems. She's building her own. She's not afraid of being alone, because solitude sharpened her. In the quiet, she found her power. In the silence, she heard her truth. And now she walks through life with her head high, not because everything is perfect, but because she's solid from the inside out. A mastered mind isn't one that has no doubt. It's one that knows how to handle doubt. It's not about never falling. It's about rising stronger every time. That's her power. That's her story. She doesn't need permission to evolve. She doesn't need approval to rise. She simply decides, and then she acts. People might not understand her. That's fine. She's not here to be understood by everyone. She's here to live fully, to love deeply, to grow endlessly. She understands herself, and that's enough. The old version of her, the one who second-guessed, who shrank, who hesitated, she's gone. And in her place stands a woman who has walked through the fire and came out glowing. She's no longer scared of starting over. She's no longer held back by her past. Because a woman who masters her mind understands everything is a lesson. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every delay, it was all shaping her. And now she's unstoppable. Because once a woman becomes unshakable in her mind, the world has no choice but to rise to meet her. The woman who masters her mind doesn't wait for the world to give her validation. She gives it to herself. She no longer seeks worth from compliments or security from relationships or peace from outside conditions. She is the source. She looks in the mirror and sees a woman she respects. And that respect, earned through discipline, through hard choices, through quiet strength, is unbreakable. She's not perfect, and she doesn't pretend to be, but she's real. She's raw. And that authenticity has become her superpower. She doesn't sugarcoat her pain or glamorize her growth. She owns her story, the messy chapters and the beautiful ones, because in her eyes, all of it matters. All of it built her. All of it taught her. A woman like this doesn't live on autopilot anymore. She wakes up with intention. She sets her energy. She knows that every thought she allows in her mind is a seed, and she's not letting negativity take root. She weeds out doubt, comparison, bitterness, not because she's immune to it, but because she's too focused on blooming to let anything stunt her growth. She no longer reacts, she responds. She no longer proves, she moves. Her silence is not weakness, it's a boundary. Her stillness is not laziness, it's awareness. She knows when to speak and when to walk away, when to give and when to guard. Her wisdom didn't come overnight. It came through mistakes, through trials, through moments when she almost lost herself. But she didn't. She held on. And now she walks like a woman who knows exactly what she's worth. She loves deeply, but not desperately. She chooses people who align with her peace, her passion, her vision. And if someone doesn't match that energy, she blesses them and lets them go. Because her self-love is no longer negotiable. Her joy is not up for debate. She is no longer looking for a hero. She became her own. And that power, that quiet ground, power draws everything she once chased. Opportunities, love, peace, they now come to her because she's not operating from lack. She's living in overflow. The woman who masters her mind isn't just living. She's leading. She's showing others what it looks like to rise without rage, to be soft without surrender, to glow without seeking permission. She doesn't scream to prove her power. Her presence speaks for her. And when she walks into a room, she doesn't ask for space. She becomes it. A woman who masters her mind does not chase validation. She embodies value. She doesn't need to be loud to be heard. Her presence alone is commanding. Her silence is not weakness, and it's power under control. Because when the mind is no longer a battlefield of insecurity and self-doubt, it becomes a sanctuary of self-trust, vision, and purpose. Most women are taught to second-guess themselves, to play small, to apologize for being too much. But when a woman masters her thoughts, she stops shrinking. She takes up the space she deserves. Emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. She starts making decisions from a place of alignment, not fear. She stops needing permission to be powerful. What's most incredible is that she doesn't compete. She leads. Not through dominance, but through grace, wisdom, and clarity. She sets standards. She protects her energy. And she doesn't compromise her peace for temporary approval. When you reach this level of self-awareness, you don't fear losing people who cannot match your growth. You start attracting those who respect your boundaries, value your presence, and align with your purpose. A mastered mind is a focused mind, and focus is the superpower most people underestimate. While others are distracted by noise, a woman with a sharp mind moves in silence. She builds, she learns, she evolves, she sees through games and manipulation. She doesn't waste time decoding mixed signals. She walks away without explanation. Mastery of the mind doesn't mean you never feel pain or fear. It means you don't let those feelings define you. You process, you release, you rise, again and again. Your emotions don't control you. You learn from them. You don't seek chaos. You seek peace. And the more you protect that peace, the more powerful you become. Because the truth is, the most dangerous woman isn't the one who yells. It's the one who stays calm in the face of betrayal. The one who knows when to speak, when to walk away, and when to rebuild in silence. That's the kind of woman people can't figure out, and that's where her strength lies. If you want to change your life, start by mastering your thoughts. Question every belief that keeps you small. Challenge every voice that tells you you're not enough. Replace I can't with I'm becoming. Your mind is not your enemy. It's your greatest tool. And once it's mastered, you won't need to chase anything. You'll attract everything that was meant for you. She has faced the storm. She has stood at the edge of chaos and refused to let it swallow her. That's what happens when a woman masters her mind. She becomes a quiet force that can move mountains. In this stage of transformation, she no longer reacts, she responds. No longer bound by others' judgments, she writes her own narrative. One with purpose, control, and clarity. Her mental mastery gives her the power of discernment. She doesn't say yes out of guilt or no out of fear. Every decision she makes is rooted in awareness of herself, of others, and of the bigger picture. She doesn't waste her energy fighting for attention. She uses her energy to build peace, protect her vision, and align her actions with her values. People start noticing, not because she's loud, but because she's consistent. She's not chasing validation anymore. She's living in alignment. Her boundaries become sacred, not barriers. They don't push people away. They attract the right ones. She's not afraid to walk alone because she knows solitude often precedes greatness. She's found peace in her own presence. And when you're not afraid of your own company, the world cannot manipulate you with loneliness. She embraces discipline, not as a punishment, but as a freedom. Her routine reflects her values. She chooses growth even when it's uncomfortable. She doesn't need to explain her silence or justify her standards. She knows what she brings to the table. If someone doesn't see her worth, she doesn't argue. She simply walks away. This kind of woman becomes magnetic, not because she's trying to be, but because people are drawn to power that is stable, power that is kind, not weak, power that is graceful, not afraid. She doesn't seek control over others. She has control over herself, and that's enough. She no longer looks outside for permission to rise. She has given herself the green light. She doesn't need the world to hand her the crown. She already wears it internally. That's what makes her unstoppable. Because once a woman masters her mind, there is no force strong enough to undo her. Now she moves through life like a river, calm on the surface, but deep, powerful, and unstoppable underneath. She doesn't need to raise her voice to prove her strength. Her presence speaks for her. She walks into a room and doesn't seek to be the center of attention. Yet all eyes turn. Why? Because confidence without arrogance is rare, and peace in a world of chaos is magnetic. She doesn't engage in petty battles. She's no longer at war with herself, so she won't be dragged into unnecessary wars with others. She's learned that protecting her peace is more valuable than proving her point. She chooses her energy battles wisely, understanding that not every reaction deserves her attention. That's emotional maturity. That's mastery. She's learned how to let go of people who can't grow with her, of pain she didn't cause, of situations that no longer serve her soul. She no longer clings to what's comfortable if it keeps her small. She has outgrown the need to be liked and replaced it with the need to be authentic. And with every step, she moves further into the life she was always meant to build. Her standards are high, but not because she's difficult. They're high because she's finally realized her worth. She doesn't beg to be chosen. She doesn't compete for a spot in anyone's life. She knows that what is aligned will find its way to her, and what isn't meant for her will fall away. That's not loss. That's clarity. She inspires without trying. She's the woman others watch quietly, wondering how she moves with such grace and power. She doesn't need to scream her success from the rooftops. Her consistency is her announcement. Her peace is her brand. Her growth is her legacy. She doesn't chase love. She attracts it by being love. Not the soft, sacrificial love that loses itself to be accepted, but the kind of love that says, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I will same title touch. I'll never shrink to fit someone else's comfort. In this final form, she's no longer just surviving, she's thriving. She's not afraid to start over, not afraid to walk away, not afraid to demand more, because she's no longer waiting for someone to rescue her. She is her own rescue, her own source of light, her own savior. And once a woman reaches that point, the world has no choice but to rise to her level or step aside. Let's be honest, this world often glorifies the loud, the flashy, the dramatic. It rewards the pretenders, promotes the shallow, and praises the ones who fit into its broken mold. But none of that changes the truth. None of that touches the essence of a real, high-value woman. Because a high-value woman doesn't conform to the chaos, she rises above it. She is not defined by the number of followers, the brand of clothes she wears, or the man who chooses her. She is defined by her character, her consistency, her courage. She walks in truth even when it's unpopular. She holds herself accountable even when no one is watching. She values quality over quantity, in friendships, in opportunities, and especially in love. Being a high-value woman in a low-value world means standing tall when others bend. It means choosing discipline over distractions. It means staying soft without being weak and being strong without being hard. It means being the kind of woman who doesn't settle because she knows peace is better than fake company and purpose is better than temporary pleasure. You don't become this woman overnight. It's a journey, a daily choice. You fall, you learn, you get up again, you heal, you grow, you protect your progress. The more you know yourself, the less you seek validation. The more you love yourself, the less you tolerate anything less than respect. That is power, not the kind that roars to be heard, but the kind that's felt without saying a word. This world may try to convince you to lower your standards, to stay quiet, to play small. Don't, because when you rise, you show others what's possible. You become the standard. And let's be clear, being a high-value woman doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It means you're committed to becoming better. It means you don't settle for less than you deserve. Not in love, not in friendships, not in the life you're buoying. Elding, you were never meant to blend in with the noise. You were made to move differently, to choose differently, to think higher, love deeper, grow relentlessly. A high-value woman understands that her life is her message, her energy is her boundary, her peace is her priority, and her worth is non-negotiable. So, if the world doesn't understand you, good. You weren't made to be understood by the ordinary. You were made to lead, to inspire, to rise. In your softness, there is steel. In your silence, there is wisdom. And in your presence, there is undeniable power. Never forget, you don't have to fight for a place in someone's life. You just have to stand so firmly in your truth that only those who align with your frequency can find you. That's the life of a high-value woman. Not easy, not always comfortable, but always worth it. Walk tall. Stay grounded, shine unapologetically. The world may not be ready for your level, but that's okay. You're not here to fit in. You're here to raise the bar,